Hello, Tom Maguire. Just want to do a quick review on the book The Bomber Mafia by Malcolm Gladwell. Now, I've listened to and read a number of Malcolm Gladwell's books over the years. I think he's a really good author, fantastic in the world of personal development, which is what this channel is mainly about. I listened to Talking to Strangers a year or so ago. I did a review of that. That was a really good audiobook. Kind of similar to this one in some ways, kind of similar style. This one has quite a lot of sound effects and things that go on, and I did read a review somewhere, I think it was on Audible, sort of saying that the person felt it was quite patronising to hear the sound of planes and things, but actually I just think it kind of adds to the atmosphere and the feel of the book. I wouldn't want to have that in every audiobook, because to be fair, on the whole, I like an audiobook just to be read by someone with a good voice, you know, who's able to kind of act the part well, I suppose, as well. I think it'd be a shame if all audiobooks had sort of sound effects and music and things, but Malcolm Gladwell's do, and I quite like that personally. I think it adds a bit of originality. It just kind of gives his books their own identity, I think. So I quite like that. So in this review, I'm going to talk about why I disagree with some of the reviews. Well, I suppose first of all that was my main reason why I disagree with some of the negative reviews. But I'm also going to talk about why it's kind of personal to me, how my sort of family history is quite relevant to this book. And also some of the negative reviews that I kind of agree a little bit with as well. So yeah, or I would say give the book a go. I think it's really good. I don't think it's his best one necessarily, but I think it's worth a listen, definitely, if only because it's quite unique. What I do agree with when it comes to negative reviews is that I think the case he makes for kind of morality and war is just a little bit... It grates a little bit with me. I personally think that war is just kind of wrong always, really. And actually you can try to make out that you're killing or targeting the right people, but you're still killing, you're still targeting people. And, you know, I don't think he's saying that. My difficulty is my kind of family history is my granddad was in Bomber Command in the Second World War. He was a navigator in Halifax bombers. And he used to go out on missions where they fully didn't expect to come back. And they took a lot of stick in Bomber Command for kind of bombing the hell out of places and killing lots of innocent people, civilians and things. And they took I think it was during the 60s, they took quite a bit of stick for that, got quite a bit of negative feedback. There wasn't even a memorial to Bomber Command until 2008, I think, or even later than that possibly. It might have been sort of 10 years ago, something like that. That's very near Green Park. It's near the RAF club in London, which I've been to a few times, which is lovely. It's a nice part of London. It's a really nice memorial, but they weren't really recognised or kind of commended for a long time, which I think is really sad, because at the end of the day, the war was a joint effort and we were under huge threat from the Nazis and the Japanese. We were in the shit, quite frankly, and actually, of course, there are going to be casualties. Of course, there's going to be horrible stuff that goes on. And actually, you know, they had Bomber Harris, you know, leading them and telling them what to do. And you can say he was a bit of a psycho and didn't care and all the rest of it. But these young men and women who had to actually do the hard work, and, you know, these guys that went out there and actually dropped the bombs, I don't suppose they particularly enjoyed it. But, you know, they had to do the job, and the war had to be won somehow. So that's my personal beef with it. And I did find that in this book, and he's talking about the American side, of course, in this book, it's called The Bomber Mafia, the title of the book. And he kind of makes the case, you know, I didn't find some of his stories that interesting. Some of the people he was talking about, some of the characters he was talking about, and I think it could have been potentially. It just went a little bit dry in places, and that kind of let it down for me a little bit. It's a sort of book that when it started, I was really positive and thinking, oh, well, I like this, I like the style, I love Malcolm Gladwell stuff. But there were bits as it went on that I just kind of found myself switching off and thinking, that particular person he's talking about doesn't sound that interesting actually, and that opinion on that grates a little bit. I'm not completely convinced with that argument and this and that. It's a really good book. I do think it's worth a go, but for me, you know, it's not one of his best. But like I say, go out, listen to it, give it a go. Malcolm Gladwell is always good. I look forward to his next book. Please keep liking, subscribing, and I'll be back again soon. Cheers.